Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the neuroscience of uncertainty. We're going to break down why your brain is basically hardwired to hate the unknown, and way more importantly, we'll get into what you can actually do about it. So let's just start with a feeling we all know, right? That little pit in your stomach when you just don't know what's coming next. It could be something small, like waiting on a text message, or something huge, like a big life decision. Well, it turns out that feeling isn't some kind of weakness. It's a really, really deep feature of our human wiring. And this diagram right here, while it looks a little complicated, shows us exactly why. This is basically the blueprint for how an intolerance for uncertainty can lock us into this cycle of worry and anxiety. I know, it looks like a complex machine, but we're about to decode it together piece by piece and see how this worry engine really works. Okay, so why does uncertainty feel so bad? It's really important to get this. This isn't some personal failing or something you can just power through. We're talking about ancient biology here, a survival mechanism that's been baked into our brains for thousands and thousands of years. It's a phenomenon called uncertainty aversion. Your brain is basically a prediction machine, and when it can't predict what's going to happen, its default is to sense a threat. The studies on this are pretty wild. They actually show that we'd often rather choose a known bad thing, like a guaranteed electric shock, over an unknown one. That's your brain's threat detector, the amygdala, just freaking out and hitting the panic button for that classic fight, flight, or freeze response. So how does this deep hatred of uncertainty actually build into that feeling we call worry? Let's zoom back in on that blueprint, the intolerance of uncertainty model, to really get a look at the gears inside this anxiety engine. It all kicks off with a trigger. I mean, any situation that's unclear or you can't predict. Your brain, which absolutely cannot stand that ambiguity, immediately asks the question, what if? What if I fail the test? What if they say no? This is the tiny spark that gets the whole fire going. And once that what if is out of the bottle, it just fuels the next stage, worry. Now, this isn't productive problem solving. This is a mental loop. It's a hamster wheel where our minds just spin out all these catastrophic stories, playing out disaster scenarios over and over and over again. And the result of all that mental spinning? Well, it's both emotional and physical. Being on that kind of constant high alert leaves you feeling anxious, tense, on edge, and just completely wiped out. It's demoralizing, and let's be honest, it's just plain exhausting. So, to escape that awful, draining feeling, what do? Our natural instinct is to try and create certainty. We go searching for guarantees. But this is where we walk right into a trap that, believe it or not, just makes everything worse. Just take a look at this list. Does any of this look a little familiar? These are called safety behaviors. Things like rechecking your email a dozen times, constantly asking, "Are you sure?" Over-preparing. They give us this temporary illusion of control, but in the long run, all they do is feed the beast. They just reinforce that core belief that uncertainty is dangerous, and they are so draining. And then there's the other big trap, trying not to think about it. It's called cognitive avoidance, and it pretty much always backfires. The best metaphor I've ever heard is that it's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can do it for a little while. Sure, it takes a ton of effort, but eventually, swoosh, that ball is going to shoot right back up and smack you in the face. Suppressed thoughts always come back, and usually they come back with more force. So here's the bottom line. This all brings us to a really fundamental choice. We can keep going on this impossible, exhausting mission to try and control every little thing, to increase certainty in a world that is, by its nature, uncontrollable. Or we can change our relationship with uncertainty itself. We can actually learn to tolerate it. Okay, so how in the world do we actually do that? How can we build up our tolerance and start to rewire that really deep threat response? Let's get into some practical solutions. First things first, we have to learn how to sort our worries. I love this metaphor on the slide. Imagine your mind is a crystal dome, and it's filled with all these swirling tickets. Most of them are silver tickets. Those are all the hypothetical what-ifs. They just create this blizzard that makes it impossible to see the few gold tickets, the actual current problems you might be able to solve. So our first job is to learn how to tell the difference. Next up, we have to challenge these sneaky positive beliefs that we have about worry. We tell ourselves, oh, it helps me prepare, or it just shows that I care. But look at the reality here. Worry doesn't prepare you for the worst. It forces you to live the worst-case scenario right now. in your head, even if it never happens. And you can absolutely care deeply about something or someone without letting worry just eat you alive. So here's a super concrete 5-step practice you can use the next time you feel that grip of uncertainty. Number 1, pause. Just notice that urge to fix it or run away. 2, breathe. Slow, deep breaths actually send a safety signal to your nervous system. 3, name it. This is fear, or this is confusion. 4, stay. Just be with that physical feeling for a moment. Don't judge it. And 5, soften. Bring a little kindness to yourself because this stuff is hard. All right, let's bring this all home and talk about a whole new mindset. This is about reframing uncertainty itself, not as this threat we need to eliminate, but as a fundamental part of life that might actually have some hidden wisdom for us. This quote from the Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron, it's a pretty radical idea, especially in our culture that's so obsessed with neat and tidy solutions. It's an invitation to stop fighting against how messy life actually is. Things come together and they fall apart. So what if our job isn't to stop things from falling apart, but to learn how to be okay when they do? And what's so amazing is that neuroscience totally backs this up. It turns out we have a built-in tool to shift out of that fear response. When we approach a situation with curiosity instead of fear, we activate a completely different neural pathway, the seeking system. This is the part of our brain that drives exploration, learning, and honestly, our sense of feeling alive. And this brings us to the final and I think most important point. What if we've been chasing the wrong thing this whole time? We think we need certainty to feel safe, but maybe, just maybe, what we really need is curiosity. By gently shifting from what if this awful thing happens to, what is this feeling? We can fundamentally change our brain's response. We can learn to find the wisdom right there in the wobble, and maybe even find a little bit of grace in the groundlessness.